This here is the first ever MINI Aceman. What is it and where does it fit into the MINI portfolio? We'll tell you all about it here with Thomas and Autogefuehl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go! Visually it looks like a small MINI Countryman, doesn't it? And indeed it sits between the MINI Cooper and the MINI Countryman lengthwise. And from the logic, from the powertrains and so on. So there is the new MINI Cooper, the new small Mini, and it will be available as 3-door and 5-door on the combustion engine side. On the electric side, there's the small 3-door MINI Cooper and the 5-door MINI Aceman. So to speak, this is then the small Mini, but with 5 doors, but as a standalone model on the electric side. Does that make sense? We'll find out. Here, this is then the S model. There's a base model and the S model. The battery there is a little bit bigger, soon to the specs there. As for the lights, you can get different daytime running lights, actually 3 different signatures, and 17 to 19-inch wheels. These are the biggest 19-inch wheels. And the length here is 4 meters and 7 or 160 inches, as I said, between the Cooper and the Countryman then. So on the electric side here, this 5-door model will be more standalone, whereas on the combustion engine side, 3 and 5-door will be definitely more similar. And you can also see this one has this crossover SUV look, also then here with these crossover wheel arches and so on. And this is then here the charging flap. And you have 2 different battery sizes, either 38.5 kilowatt hours net or 49 kilowatt hours net, giving you the net figures each. The figures that you mostly see out there are the gross figures, but we try always when possible to give you the usable battery figures. And that's kind of the same like with the small Mini, the MINI Cooper, the new electric one. That's a 3-door. They use approximately the same battery variations for small and big each. Realistic range for the big one here, about 300 kilometers, 190 miles. Definitely more the city short range focus. 11 kilowatt AC charging, 75 or 95 kilowatt DC charging. In both cases then around 30 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. In the rear you can see the stylish tail lamps. You can also get them, do you remember? If you think about, there could be a P for Paceman here. That used to be a Mini model. That was a 3-door crossover coupe-ish thing, but they decided to get rid of that. So it's not directly a successor of that. So they put Aceman as, yeah, it's something similar, but still a very new name then for this model. Top speed, by the way, depending on, again, if you have the base model or the S model, is 160 kilometers an hour or 170 kilometers an hour. So both around 100 miles. Acceleration, by the way, 7.9 seconds for the Aceman E, 7.1 seconds, a little bit quicker for the Aceman SE, the one you can see right here. My wardrobe hasn't given me any possibility to dress in Rebel Red here today. However, concerning the interior, this might be a good fit, and also about the surrounding, because we're in Greece here today, around the Thessaloniki area, and I thought if I can't dress according to the car, at least I can pay homage to the people, to the country. I mean, that's why I'm dressed in Greece today. Ladies and gentlemen, the bets are now being taken. Is there a Frunk or not? Nah, there is not. Well, it does have a short front overhang, so they also use the space then for all the electric parts and so on. Yeah, but still, it's always nice to have one. One of my favorite parts is always showing off the turning indicators or hazard lights. In this case, pretty cool because it replaces the whole daytime running light here in the front. And the turning indicators just right in between. The color here is called, by the way, Rebel Red. And it is a little bit tricky with these cameras because as for red nuances and orange nuances, the camera always portrays it in a different way than we look at it with our own eyes. You know, it's a problem of how the sensors are being built actually. It's a thing in the camera community. And so here, I can tell you, I'm not sure how it looks like on camera at this moment, but this red is a very orange-ish red. So it's a red-orange or orange-red, something in between. This is the mini key fob, which is maxi in size, I would say. Leah was also suggesting that it looks like a baguette or something, like a loaf, like a bread loaf or something. But it's actually quite cool. Then door closing sound, I would say average. Here, quite nice feedback that the door handles are giving. It's a good example of it is flush in the integration, but still it gives you a real feedback. Then inside of the doors, so we have the blue trim here, different colors are available. This is the blue fabric, it's actually quite cool, feels really nicely. However, this then here is hard pack, optional Harman Kardon sound system. Then you open the door from the inside here, hard door pockets everywhere, and then this is here to control the doors from the inside. And now I let your fantasy play a little bit of what you are thinking this might be. Really? Yeah, I was thinking that too. Well, either you can go into the body parts area, or what you can also think of, maybe like a joystick thing. Yeah, it is interesting, definitely. Let's take it that way. So, fantasy inspiring also the rest of the interior. This looks similar to the new Mini or the new Mini Countryman. This is here in the Favoured trim, that you also have this additional strap, by the way. I think it looks quite cool. Everything is animal free, so there's no animal part in this interior. More sustainable as well. Here more blue fabric. Again, to the red exterior color, I think not a good choice in the color combination, but for example, blue exterior or white exterior and then the blue interior is great. This is high grade leatherette and soft, so good quality. And there are also base fabric seats available, or a mix of fabric and leatherette. You can even get a JCW trim, not a true JCW version yet at least, but a trim that would also look a little bit sportier. Seating position does remind you a little bit of the Mini Cooper, so it's definitely closer to the Mini Cooper than it is to the Countryman. And with 189 or 6'2", still leave some headroom here to the side. This is also equipped here with the panoramic roof, which you cannot open. You can just, really wide actually, you can close this shade here, however. And this is really important because so many vehicles are being launched nowadays, especially in the electric area, where they have just the large electric glass roof and then everything is heating up, like greenhouse effect. So here you can at least completely close that. That's actually good, and it's decently quick. The quality of the steering wheel is amazing, by the way, so no one would actually feel that. Actually, it feels even better than the animal skin. Real buttons also feedback. Sorry about that. So real buttons at the steering wheel here, for example, for the volume. So they went for a mix of the user interface. Let's turn the indicator sound. It's also cool. So I really love this fabric styling here. This is like inspired by luggage design actually, so or like a luggage or furniture design. So this is this living room atmosphere thing. Then here the cockpit perspective, once again with the fabric covering, and here this screen here, round OLED screen, special with the new Mini models. So the outside is around 10 inches, and without the bezels it's a little bit more than 9 inches. So just that you have the approximate size. Below that you still have manual volume jog, for example. This is the experience mode selector. So there you pick the different driving modes, like here the go-kart mode, for example. Then the RPM's a little bit preloaded. Yeah, you have this chime. You can also turn the chime off, because it might be a little bit annoying. Then you have this racy atmosphere in the interior, but you can also go to this core mode, for example. Then it's a little bit more subtle and everything. So this is always in the speedometer. Then here to turn on or off the car, you just go like this. This is inspired by the old Mini models. And here this is then the switch gear, so for reverse, drive, and so on. In the lower part, you can see, maybe you also heard that now, this inductive charging pad, and it's now cooled. So that's good against overheating. USB-C charging is also possible. Cup holders, they look cool, but they are not adaptive though. And then you have a fixed armrest here, which is also soft here, so it's actually good for the elbow. Underneath, more luggage-inspired design for this small cubby hole, where you can also put things. These are like rubber backgrounds that things don't fly around, and more USB-C chargers than for the rear passengers here in between. The seats themselves always have this integrated head restraint, so sportier styling, and they indeed give good comfort, so I'm happy with that. And I think it just depends in if you like living in a very hot climate, for example, then maybe like one of the trims with more fabric might be more useful. This, however, the high grade leatherette is better, that you can wipe things clean, maybe if kids spill something and so on. So what I love about this screen is that it's super crisp, no matter which mode you are in. The colors and the clearness is amazing indeed. And then here, the climate unit, that's, you know, what I'm not a fan of. First of all, I would expect, have you seen that now? I would expect that I put my finger here and then swipe up and down. I already told them that maybe a software update can fix that, because here you have to click in there and then you can either swipe or click like that. To me, too complicated, I feel. And here this is for the seat heating and for the steering wheel heating in 3 levels. It is at least always accessible in this very area. Then you always have a home screen, or then this view for all of the different functions, and without the Apple CarPlay is of course also available. This is, by the way, the timeless mode, retro style. The speed is either here, or when you turn on the vehicle, actually ready to drive, then you can also see it digitally on top. You can also get a head-up display. You can deactivate or activate it here. And then you can see it is this separate plastic glass layer, and you might think, wait a minute, it's just cost saving. Well, the reason is that the form of the windshield, you see here, it's really steep and also curved, and in that way a projection was not possible with a real head-up display, only with this separate layer here. So they could have done a proper head-up display, but then would have compromised on this true iconic Mini design as for the chassis exterior. Rear doors here inside, once again with a nice fabric covering, and the same design here for the rear. At least they carried through this whole design scheme. Then the same seat material for the rear seats. And well, as a tall adult, I'm driving in the front. Oh, I have to. Oh, the head restraints, they have to. Oh, whoa, that takes some effort. So then here, they're actually quite decent. I'm driving as a tall driver, and I can sit here as a tall adult. This is, of course, then a massive difference to the 3-door Mini. And headroom, yeah, that rate is astonishing. So this is for adult proof. You can also use 5 seats here, so there's also a middle seat belt available. It's just that, yeah, in the middle part here, it's a little bit harder than, yeah, maybe like for shorter trips it would be possible, but for tall adults does work, and that is actually a quite good achievement. Cannot fold down here anything like this, but everything soft and plush to sit on. By the way, for the kids, they can not only charge with 2 USB-C chargers here in the rear, ISOFIX on the passenger seat in the front, plus a top tether in the low back part of the seat. So this is then the first possibility. And then for the back seats, you have ISOFIX on the outsides each here, and this one you can open and it doesn't fly away. You can just fold up and then fold down again. So ISOFIX outsides each, and then there are top tethers behind. So here outside, 1 top tether, and there's then like this, the second one behind here, and the third one behind here. Let's now check out the trunk. 300 up to 1000 liters. But what does that mean? First of all, it's very interesting. You see this structure here on this top. This is, I would say, just for visualization, but this very structure here you find on top of the trunk cover, like here. This actually is for insulation. So by this structure, it stays a little bit more silent on the interior. That's interesting, right? Then you can see here the width is like 95 centimeters, so yeah, it's a little bit less than a meter or 40 inches. The length is about 60 centimeters, 24 inches here at the moment. Suitcase in there, but we can make it a little bit bigger because you can put this lower ground a little bit lower here. You can also take it out completely like this. There's also space for a charging cable underneath. The left part is the subwoofer, and then you can put it here also in this lower position, so this would also be possible. Folding seats is actually quite easy. You can reach over here like this, and this for a 2/3, 1/3 split. Now you're asking yourself, does Thomas integrate art in this video? Well, I hope that you conceive our video style in a way as art, maybe, if I'm very lucky. But this here indeed looks like a piece of art, doesn't it? But the secret to it is it's something completely different, because it also has to do with the vehicle. Do you know what it is? Let me tell you why you're here. It's a Wallbox underneath. Look at that. So now you might ask yourself, this is really heavy by the way. It's like everything is solid metal here, and then you can recharge your vehicle right here. But I would ask myself, would I do that every day, that I remove this heavy metal part? probably I won't, you know. But then when it's open like this, it even looks worse than the or like this kind of cover for a Wallbox I need to show you, but practical is something else. I have the entry prices for the German market, for example, as an example, 35,000 euros for the smaller battery, 39,000 euros for the bigger battery. And that is, by the way, see it here once again in the background, if you compare it to the smaller Mini Cooper, the 3-door electric version, about 2,000 euros difference each, where the Aceman is more expensive, but definitely you get a lot more car for that. To me, it is more or less a small mini Countryman, and if you want to compare these, you can do it right now. Compare the small 3-door Mini Cooper or the bigger Mini Countryman.